Recording in progress.
And then let me get to the cloud. What is that?
Just want to check my audio. Can you hear me, Tim?
It works. Good to see you.
Shelby.
Yep. So I'll still go into YouTube here. You're set.
Okay, welcome everybody to our PRAC, Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee for Thursday, September 22nd. Introductions, starting off, I'll call your name. We'll go introduce the members of PRAC. If I can just give us a little wave so we know who you are. Steve. I guess I should say your last name's Williams. Tim West. Ken Worcester. Joey Knopf. And I am your chair, Troy Bollinger. You've all had a chance to review the minutes. I guess I should say excused absence is Brent Haverkamp for tonight, and Andy Crump should be joining us momentarily. But moving on to approval of minutes, you've all had a chance to approve or to review the minutes. So we have open floor to discuss or a motion.
I move that we adopt the minutes for minutes.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve by Ken, a second by Steve. Any discussion, requests for clarification before we vote? All right, Justin, you want to hold?
Yeah. Tim West.
Hi.
Joey Knopf.
Aye.
Steve Williams.
Yes.
Ken Worcester.
Yeah.
And Troy Bollinger.
Yes, aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
All right. Any public comment submitted to you, Justin?
Not for this week.
Okay. Then we will move to presentations. We'll start with Denise with deferred maintenance update.
Hi.
Would you like to be co-host? Do you need to share your screen, Denise?
I will need screen, and then I'll have if it shows up as a presenter screen or if it shows up as the slideshow. So let me know, Justin.
You are all set as co-host.
I'm not sure what's showing up right now.
Nothing.
Nothing yet.
Let's see here.
Now we see your slideshow.
Okay. Let me see if I can switch. I have multiple screens here, so sometimes it gets a little hairy. Okay. So what I have here is showing you our deferred maintenance. It's this first slide is showing the deferred maintenance items that have been completed for the fiscal year 2022. And so it shows all the items by the facility and then what it was and then the amount. And there is a note that we received grant funds for the first one, which is the pool operable partition replacement, which is in their community room. And then, sorry, I'm losing my mouse here. This next slide is the deferred maintenance items that are in progress. And these are all that were in your agenda packets as well. So a little bit of review. We're currently finishing up the mausoleum roof. That project had some delays due to metal fabrication, and they should be wrapped up. We keep getting told this week. I think we'll be done within the next couple of weeks. Basically what happens is the roofers were out in force, and then when they had the delay of the metal fabrication, They've just gave us the last couple guys and they've moved on to other projects. So we're just getting to the last little bit of this. And so it should wrap up here pretty soon. And right now they're finishing the, just the metal around the edges of the flashing around the edges of the mausoleums. I am not sure, at the time that I did this report, I'm not sure if the wading pool refinish and paint was complete or not. So Melissa could probably let us know that as we move on to the reports. The West Good Neighbor project, the river access area is where we're using those funds currently. That project is in process, but has had some delays. So the tree pruning, the hazard tree removal, that has been completed. The path panel replacements and the ADA ramp and the parking improvements are in progress. And then the cemetery restroom replacement is in progress as well. And we're just doing due diligence at this point in time. So the deferred maintenance items that are upcoming are listed here. Some of them are just in a planning process. Some have been budgeted and we just haven't gotten to them yet. These projects would be items that need to be done by June 30th of this year. And then the Veterans War Memorial is the one that we're looking and obtaining more quotes and still trying to gain funding for. So we did the Bbta Deferred Assessment Report 2021, I believe we did the presentation for it. So at the time they had immediate needs and then they showed us the short term, 1 to 2 years. And that came up to about an $8 million ticket. And then in the immediate needs repairs, all of those items were listed and individually in each of the reports. However, we had already budgeted for the fiscal biennium. So the items that I just showed you were completed, were budgeted in our fiscal biennium prior to receiving all of this information from Bbta. So the West Good Neighbor project obviously is underway. So what you see in those bins are the pathway panels that we have broken up and moved out. And these are coming off of the pathway. We started out to the end of the concrete area where it transitions from concrete to the asphalt. And we're working our way back towards the river access parking lot. We ran into a little bit of a hiccup with actually truck drivers. So we don't have enough truck drivers to roll the bins through in a cycle as we're loading and needing them unloaded. So we're having trouble getting that done. So we looked at having our contractor bring in trucks, and he also has a deficit of truck drivers. So we're stockpiling a lot of this debris in between the roadway within the parking lot and the pathway. But we're finding that we're moving faster than we can load the debris because of the truck driver deficit. We are working on that problem. I'm looking at borrowing a couple of dump trucks and possibly some of our CDL drivers to see if we can cycle some of this material out of there. At the same time, we would be relying on those bins to come in and out as they can do that so that we can just keep this project moving. The problem I'm looking at is concrete needs to be done in the dry, and we're starting to having that weather change. And so I want to get this project wrapped before we have the weather change. And the same thing is when we want to do the parking lot striping, we want to do it after we've been in and out of this. So we're done mucking up the parking lot. So we'd like to try and do that part as well. So this is just kind of basic summary of what I just told you folks. And if you actually see me on camera, our lights keep going on and off over here, so I apologize. The mausoleum roof is another project that we're wrapping, and it just will show you kind of the degradation of the roof system. This shows that we have 4 or 5 layers of the roofing, and this is the granulated asphalt roofing that was there. And then that growth, those granules collect this moss, and then it's very difficult to get. these roofs have been inferred for maintenance for more than a few years, talking probably a decade plus. But this is the new roof. We're doing a TPO installation. They're all installed, all the TPOs on there. All the seams are welded. And then all of these drains have been installed. I think we're waiting on, one drain yet for, it's a metal manufacturer delay as well. But that shows you the difference of what we had and what we have currently, which is vastly different and should, barring any other issues, should drain extremely well. And this is just a picture. We just took this the other day of the brand new flashing that had just been installed. And it looks like we need some paint now that everything looks shiny and new up there. And then this is just an example that happened this last few weeks, is Hillendale irrigation. That system has been installed for decades, and we're finding that some of the glue made back then has not held very well, even though there were a number of thrust blocks underneath it to keep it from moving. It still has cracked open, and we've had the break was there. We found it. It was saturated. We dug it up. We fixed it. We put the slip fix in. And as we pressurized it and left it for a little bit, it came back and there was another leak further down the line that we had to dig, and got that one ready to go. And then a little bit later, another one. All in the same area, which was great because we didn't have to dig massive holes in other areas. But this is just kind of what we'll start seeing in our older parks through these irrigation systems and the glue failing. These are some of our parking lot maintenance repairs. So curbing at the community development building. And then once that curbing was installed and the asphalt was fixed from the roots, heaving the asphalt, we did an asphalt repair. Then we did a seal, and then the striping. So it makes a huge difference if we can keep up on our parking lots as we go. So that is part of our preventative maintenance plan, is to continually look at our parking lots, piggyback on the PMUF program with the streets department, and make sure that we get built into the contracts so that we're not having to help pay. Well, so we help pay for the mobilization and we pay our part in those contracts, but we aren't paying as a singular mobilization and just a small project. And those small projects tend to get pushed off. But if we're in as part of a bigger, larger project, we have a tendency to get our projects done quickly through working with streets. So that's just kind of a snapshot of what we have going on in our deferred maintenance projects. And just to let you know, I've only been back about 6 weeks, so there are probably a few more pictures I should have gotten, but was not here during that time. I was out on medical for about 3 months. So in about 6-ish weeks or so, I've just been trying to catch up, and this is kind of a culmination of the things that have been started and moved on while I was gone and what we're doing now.
Denise, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Welcome.
Any questions from members of the committee? Tim, I see your hand up. Do you want to go ahead and ask some questions?
Yeah. Hey, Denise. A couple of questions. One is, you're replacing the concrete that was on that path that goes from the Cove to West. It looked like it was in great shape. What was the deal that had to be replaced?
So if you get more than a 1/4 inch lip or a lift in the concrete, it becomes a trip hazard. And we're only allowed to grind them down less than a 1/4 inch lift. And then after that, we have to replace them. So we were at the meeting to replace them. Actually, 64 panels needed to be replaced. And the slope had changed over time because of water that we couldn't maintain a level panel or they've cracked and broke and have lifted, or the tree roots have lifted them. And that is part of the project, is to grind down those roots. And most of those trees are ones that have been removed as dead that we've already talked to you folks about.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. My other question was, you're interviewing for a facilities manager. Did somebody depart, or is this a new position?
I was going to get to that in our staff report.
Okay. Thank you.
Steve, please.
Yeah. Denise, I just wanted to check a couple things with you. I think I heard you say this, and I was looking at the report itself, but you have approximately 8 million in deferred maintenance, and I'm able to address, let's just say rough figures, 1 million of that. Am I in the ballpark?
Roughly. And again, that deferred maintenance report was done prior to our budget. It was done after our budget had been adopted. Okay. So we will be doing budget prep this year, or for this biennium, in relation to that report. And then in what we see as reality and prioritizing. So whether or not the city has the funds to facilitate a larger capacity this year or not, or this next couple next couple years in the biennium, then that's kind of, we're putting out there our requests. It's really up to them to determine what the city's capacity to facilitate those are.
Just to follow up, Troy, if someone were to ask me, Denise, is the 8 million figure in the ballpark with what we have for deferred maintenance? My experience in other organizations, I always had much larger deferred maintenance needs than I ever had money to accomplish it. But it sometimes was useful to have that big number figure in your pocket to use as a way to emphasize how important it is to get some of this done. So if someone were to ask me, would if I use the word 8 million, would that be a reasonable number?
I think it's reasonable in the capacity of the time that the assessment was done. However, we do know that in construction, all materials have gone up extensively. Yeah. So we're finding from where we're estimating to where we're now setting contracts, there's been a very big differential in cost values.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not in our favor.
So that'd be a minimum right there then. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ken, please.
Okay. Hi, Denise. Welcome back.
Hi, thank you.
I have two questions. One is so these deferred projects aren't in the city's CIP yet. Is that the way I understand it?
Correct. I believe there might be a few that were in there, but I haven't seen the CIP in a while. So I can't confirm that. I would have to look at the CIP itself compared to, they may not be the same descriptors or the same scope. So that would be the part that we would have to kind of match back up.
Okay. And then how far out do you guys project for the CIP? Is it like a 5-year cycle?
It has been in the past. Yes.
Okay. And everybody understands sorry, so we use the acronym, but CIP is the capital improvement program, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then I also noticed it looks like you are replacing extruded curbing with extruded curbing in the one parking lot. Is there a reason that you did not go to Catherine Place? Is it just cost?
Cost. We were already well over the estimate. Again, concrete is one of those items that exponentially increased over time. And so by the time we got from the estimates, we estimated even high. And once we got the actual back, we had to go ask for more money. Okay. So, yeah.
So you're not really able to do kind of a life cycle analysis on something like that?
No, I think that we're starting to see there isn't anything that's really going down in price. Everything is just continuing to go up.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Denise from members of the committee? Okay, thank you, Denise, very much. Appreciate it. We always love to talk about deferred maintenance. Sometimes we have special meetings just for deferred maintenance. So this is good. So Kathy, you have an introduction for us.
Good evening, PRAC members. Yes, I do. Tonight, I'm really pleased to introduce our new recreation coordinator, Barbara Bennett-Heck, who is at the Pioneer Community Center. And I'm going to let her talk about her background and her career. We're very pleased to have you. He's been here about a month and has been extremely helpful to us moving forward with our new recreation program software. And we're getting her, fortunately, just before our busy season. And so we're really pleased to have her with us. So I'll just turn it over to Barbara.
Hi, I'm Barbara Bennett-Heck. I live here in Oregon City with my husband and 2 kids. I'm actively in the community. I'm a Scout troop leader, and I volunteer for the Downtown Oregon City Association. I have a degree in electronic media and worked for the Cincinnati Recreation Commission for 10 years, doing large-scale events in Sawyer Point Park, which is much like NATO Park here in Portland. I did before and after school programs, summer camps, adult exercise and senior programs through my 10 years in recreation. Prior to COVID, I was the event coordinator for the Oregon Zoo. So I was in zoo lights, the Halloween events, different kids events, community events such as Twilight Tuesday. For right before I got this position, I was the operations supervisor with Metro at P5's Performing Arts. And I spent about 20 years in various different music venues, not only here in Portland, managing the Oregon Zoo concert series, working by Guild, and I spent in Cincinnati 8 years at different venues. So my passion and hobbies is called, not only coordinating and creating events, but actually attending events and concerts. 2 Edgefield shows this weekend. Yeah, from that world, get back into recreation and support my community and be a part of my community. And my kids are active already through recreation. They attend a lot of the swimming lessons at the Aquatic Center or in camp. So yeah, I'm just happy to give back. That's what I got.
Thank you.
Welcome, Barbara. Now we had earlier tonight, we conducted a couple of interviews, 2 interviews actually, for 2 applicants to possibly fill 2 positions on PRAC. These are to fill vacancies. One vacancy was created by the resignation of Sean Dashford, and the other one was created because of the death of Karen Morey. And so we interviewed those tonight. We did that at a work session at 6 o'clock. Right now, what we want to do is kind of deliberate on that. Our next step is to decide if we're going to make a recommendation to the mayor to fill those positions, and if we are, which our recommendation will be. Andy, you're certainly welcome to participate in this, even though you weren't in the interviews, because you have had a chance to review applications and resumes. But what I'd like to do is go each person, just because of the forum we're in with Zoom here, each member of PRAC, share some thoughts. If you don't have any thoughts to share, that's fine. I'll call on you to share thoughts. And then Andy, with all respect, I'll call on you last so that you have an opportunity to hear the comments of everybody else, to put those with the applications that you've reviewed, and then see if you have any comments as well. So we'll do that. And then after everyone's had a chance to kind of just share some thoughts, then if we want to do some cross discussion, of course, we certainly can do that as well. But I want to give everyone an individual opportunity to just kind of share some thoughts and feelings about the applicants. So Steve, we'll start with you, if you wouldn't mind, just because you're the first one on my screen. If you have thoughts to share about one or both, that's fine. If you have no thoughts to share, that's okay too. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Troy. Well, I think you know, both candidates obviously have interest and assets that they could bring to our committee. They certainly, Emily has a background and an interest in a number of issues related to things that we deal with in terms of the parks program and all the facilities. And certainly she is, I see her being active around all of our parks a lot. And I know that her background certainly is broad and diverse. Tim brings a different perspective to the program. That's something that could be very valuable to us in terms of facilities and understanding some of how we operate those. I think both of the candidates could be well suited for these positions. I'm going to hold. I've got one question or one comment at the end. I'd like to come back to Troy that references kind of how we should look at these positions when we get done. But I'll come back to that at the end if I could. But I think both of these candidates could serve us well in the committee.
Great, thank you. And yes, we'll come back to your comment at the end. Tim, any thoughts?
I think that both Emily and Tim are excited to join this organization and be a part of Oregon City Park and Rec's Advisory Committee. I think they both bring great things to this table, and I would support both of them to be part of this, part of us.
Perfect. Thank you. Ken, any comments?
Yeah, I think I kind of echo both all of the previous comments, but I guess I'd like to add that I do think it is an exciting time to bring some members on with young children, especially with the master plan, underway, and I think it's both exciting for them to be able to participate in that and kind of shape the future of the city, but also it's just a good perspective. And I don't want to say I've got grandkids, so I'm still pretty in tune to what young kids do, and in fact went down all the slides at Chapin Park over the weekend. But I just think I'm just excited to see both of them and welcome them both.
Thank you very much, Joey.
Yeah, I think my comments are much along the same lines as the previous comments. I thought they both would be good additions to the committee, as it were. They both have, I think they both have quite a few strengths that would benefit us. Different strengths, certainly, but and good perspectives on things. And I think one of the important things to me is just to see an excitement and a passion for the city and for sort of the subject matter that we discuss on a daily basis as members of the committee. And they both, that came across to me in interviews, and I think I would also recommend both of them when it comes down to it.
Great, thank you. What I really liked, there's a number of things, so I don't want to limit it, but just to mention a couple, I thought it was great how both candidates, both applicants, if you will, were here for a short time. And some people may look at that as a negative, but I like the idea that we have two applicants that have a fresh view. They have just come into Oregon City within the last couple of years. They haven't necessarily seen a lot of the park growth over the last decade or two. But they're taking a look at it as of today and not allowing history, for the good or the bad, to influence a lot of their opinion. Tim mentioned that he'll take just a few minutes after work to go throw some discs of disc golf. And Emily mentioned that she had gone on walks with her kids and her dogs. And so I really liked that. I also thought that they were well informed as far as when they shared their various opinions and thoughts, that they really understood exactly what was going on. I liked how Emily, although she lives in the Rivercrest neighborhood, when we asked about underserved, she mentioned Park Place. So it wasn't me in my area, but it was a recognition for what happens clear on the other side of the city, almost as far as you could get from where she was. So I really liked a lot of those things, and I think they would serve the community well. Andy, do you have some thoughts you want to share?
Well, just from looking at the resume, I was intrigued, and I'm actually glad to hear that everyone was seemed like they would be equally qualified and a good addition to. So that's basically all I have. I don't have any specific questions.
Okay. Thank you. Then, any discussion? And we can open this up for questions among committee members only, but discuss or questions. Address. We can do that right now. Steve, did you want to ask your question now, or like?
Well, no, it wasn't a question, Troy. It was just an observation, and it sounds like if you want me to go ahead, I'll do that. Sounds to me as though we're all kind of generally in the same place with regard to the attributes and the benefits that the folks would bring, and I certainly agree that it's nice to have some fresh, shall we say, younger faces, if you will, potentially be able to assist us in our job. I don't consider myself old, but I'm certainly older than our candidates are, that's for sure. The other observation that I would make, and it's just something that I think maybe we all need to remember at times, is our job as a PRAC committee is to advise and assist the city in accomplishing their goals for the management of our parks, and so we make recommendations. We aren't the ones that are doing the management or making the decisions in that regard. We can certainly influence those, but it's important for us to remember as we move along in our efforts here, both of those of us that are already on the committee and those that may be on the committee in the future, that we remember we're in an advisory role, and that in that role. We're hopefully going to be able to assist the city in getting their job done and helping them move forward. So that's an important. I think that's important to understand what our role is. At least that's my view of what our role is. So thank you.
I agree with that. I would add, and something that, and I'm glad you mentioned that because it reminded me of something I wanted to mention, that the other part of our role is advocacy. That we actually act as somewhat of a liaison between the citizens and the city. And when I mean liaison, I don't mean in an exclusivity role. The community can certainly come directly to parks, to these meetings, to the commission. They don't have to come through us, but we are an advocacy role too, to where we make sure that the city is aware of what our individual neighborhoods and community of Oregon City wants and needs. And so I think, and I'm glad you reminded me of this, because I felt that both of these applicants could do that because of their interest in the use of the parks and because of some different backgrounds that they have. Any other comments, questions, discussion? Okay. So we are in a position now to vote on making a recommendation vote if we are going to make a recommendation. I think we've heard a consensus here, but I want to make sure I clearly have to decide if we're going to make a recommendation to the mayor. The mayor actually makes these appointments. We don't make the appointments. We simply hold the interviews, make the recommendation, and then the mayor takes our information. She may choose to watch the recording of the interview. She may choose just to use our vote here. She can do whatever she chooses, but we just simply give her that information. I did have one clarifying question for Justin. I put it in the chat. Oh, here we go. So we got two options here. And we can do this kind of how we want or how we think we need to. We have one term. So we have two applicants and two positions. One position, the term ends this year. So they would just be fulfilling this for the next few months. The other term ends the end of 23. So they're not full terms. Now, that being said, we will be holding interviews and have to make another recommendation for not just the term that ends, or the one term that we're recommending for this year, but also 2 other terms. So there'll be a total of 3 terms that are ending this year. So we can recommend to the mayor which candidate we think should fill which term. That would probably be advisable, if I'm understanding Justin correctly. However, if we don't feel comfortable with that, we can, because it's just our recommendation, we can recommend one or both applicants and let the mayor decide how she wants to place them for their term. So we can do that. And I'm just going to leave it at that. The motion put forward will kind of determine that. So whoever makes the motion, just, make that comment. We will need to have a motion for each applicant, a motion to recommend so-and-so, a recommendation or a motion to recommend the other applicant as well. So is there any questions on that as far as terms, how, why, when? Yeah, Andy.
I guess I was a little confused in what you were actually describing there. Is it simply just a matter of whether we recommend each candidate and then the mayor basically decides from there? Is that what I'm understanding?
That's one option. One option is we make a recommendation that they serve on PRAC, and the mayor gets to make the decision as to which term they fill. We also can make the recommendation, which according to Justin is probably the more advisable, of which applicant fill which term, and make that recommendation to the mayor, understanding that she may accept our recommendation or change it.
Troy, let me clarify then for my own information.
Let me go back to asking that. Why would we want to, what would be the rationale for doing one way or the other, as opposed to letting the mayor make the decision? I'm just giving you the options from a voting standpoint. I don't know that there is a benefit to one or the other. If we make the recommendation for the applicant to fill a particular term, I think it potentially could help the mayor just accept it as a yes or a no without having to dig deeper if she chose. I think leaving it up to her just gives her the flexibility of kind of doing what she wants. I don't know that there's much of an advantage over a disadvantage to either applicant or the committee. It's just an option of how we choose to handle it. Tim, before we go to you, Tim, Steve did have a comment.
So Troy, the one of the positions, the term ends in October, November, in 3 months. Is that correct?
Correct.
And the individual, whoever that may be in that position, has the ability to, if they choose to do so, immediately apply for that position again and extension into the next period. Am I correct?
Yes, which would be a full 3 years.
Full 3 years after that. Okay.
Now, in all fairness, the reason we're doing this now is because we've struggled to have enough applicants to fill our committee positions. So
right.
We have to open the application process in December to everybody who's there, but it is rare that we have had many more applicants than positions. So that's usually our challenge, not the other.
Right.
Truth be told is that we don't have a dilemma here. It's approved both Emily and Tim. And if either of them want to go ahead and extend, all they have to do is raise their voice and say, all right, you're in. So I don't think it's going to matter. And who's chosen for which position. So,
you may be right, Tim, but just for clarification, it's not just a matter of raising your hand to extend, it's reapplying, which is no more than what they've already done here. But just to clarify.
Yeah.
And so I make a motion that we approve both Emily and Tim to be presented to the commission for a position on PRAC.
This is Andy, and I second that.
Okay. Any discussion about that? And Tim, our recommendation for technical purposes, needs to be to the mayor, not to the commission. Are you willing to amend your motion?
Yes, this is.
And Andy, you second that amendment? Andy, you still second that?
Yes.
Any discussion at all? Justin, does that give you what you need for a motion and then to poll?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, please.
So I can do both applicants here, just for clarification, right? Since the motion
because the motion is to recommend them both, you can poll for one motion. Now, I don't think this is an issue, but we are a public meeting. I want to make sure it's very clear. If for some reason you think one should be recommended and not the other, then you may want to enter a no vote here, which would then make us restate the motion for one and then the other to be able to split your recommendation. But if you are saying yes to both, then that would be a yes vote.
And this motion had no determination of which candidate goes into which position, correct?
No, we're going to let the mayor determine that. And I believe, Justin, the recommendation comes by way of a letter. Is that right? Or an email?
Yeah, it'll be similar to like the Monarch Pledge, where we just write a letter to the commission stating.
So I'll work with Justin to make sure that letter states that, assuming if this motion gets passed, that we're recommending the candidates and we encourage the mayor to choose which position she wants to fill with each one.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead and poll, Justin.
All right, Joey Knopf.
Yes.
Tim West.
Aye.
Steve Williams.
Yes.
Troy Bullinger.
Absolutely.
Ken Worcester. And Andy Crown.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-0.
All right. Thank you very much.
Good aboard, Emily. almost. You're 90% there.
We got a process to follow, though. Let's follow the process. Justin, you got staff reports for us?
Yes. I'll begin the staff report with just a quick update. And so the quick update is for the Clackamette Park Master Plan. We are currently going through we're going to do a pre-op appointment next week. And that will be with Lango-Hanson and ODOT and other various departments throughout the city. And then following that pre-op appointment, the city will begin to look at different funding mechanisms, enabling the city to move forward with the Clackamette Park Master Plan. The Parks Master Plan, the survey from ETC will run through October 7th. So if you or anyone you know has not filled the survey, please ask them to do so before the 7th. We would love to hear their input and get as many responses to our survey as possible. These results will then be compiled and analyzed from ETC, and then they will send us the results and we will share them. Following the survey, the consultants will then meet with our recreation team in the city to do a program analysis survey about the various recreation programs and the current state of programming. And then this survey will also be released to the public in the coming weeks. And regarding Sportscraft landing negotiations, they are currently ongoing and there is no further comment. And that ends my report.
Fair enough.
And we'll start with Denise. See
the lights pop back on. Sorry about that. I'm in a building where the lights are automatically on and off on their own. So I'll start with facilities. Our facility manager interviews. We went to the second round of interviews. We initially started with 6. On the first round, 3 in the second round of finalists. And according to Kendall, he will have a decision this week. And I'm sure that will get announced as soon as he makes that decision. Seth and Dale are doing all of our facility maintenance currently. Seth is our full-time facility specialist, maintenance specialist, and Dale is our part-time at the pool, 20 hours, and we've moved him to a full-time to assist Seth. Since Anna had retired, we've kind of, we're still at a deficit because Dale is still with the pool for 20 hours a week. And so only 20 hours of his time is backfilling the facility side. So we're hoping to get more staffing in and get this kind of back on track as far as our maintenance. Having just 2 full-time employees doing facility maintenance for over 300,000 square feet of building space is still at a deficit. So being at a deficit of staff puts us at a double deficit. So we're hoping to kind of backfill that quickly. They're also working on our capital projects like the mausoleum roof. Our warranty finalization for this building that I'm in, which is First Street, the Public Works Operations Engineering building, is kind of starting to wrap up. So typically when you get to a final warranty walk, you get everything plugged in, and they have until the 1-year point to get everything dialed in and finalized. We are at that point where kind of the pressure's on. We're hitting that 1-year mark, and we're running around with the contractors trying to get everything finished and accepted. So Seth has been extremely busy, and I would say beyond extremely, but he's been handling it well and really he's done a top-notch job in getting these things done. Dale was on vacation, so Seth backfilled his position in the pool during their shutdown and did his first pool refill. So, and of course, nothing ever is perfect. So when you're brand new to doing it, the hiccups always feel a little bit more pressurized. But he did a great job, and we got the pool refilled. And Dale came in over the weekend and got it all chemical balanced, and so we were up and running on time. And then we're working on the new cemetery restroom, also a facilities capital project with parks, and we're doing the due diligence. So surveying has occurred for ADA compliance, matching the road elevation to where we want the sidewalk elevations. So we needed those point markers, and then we're doing the due diligence for locates right now. So there's some geotechnical aspects that we've done. I believe that starts tomorrow. Along with that, we've been doing our budget prep. So our discussions about what we're going to be doing for the next 5 years for each building, as well as the biennium budget preparations, and what we'll be talking to each of the department directors about for what we recommend in facilities for each of their facilities, and what they want to approve to move forward into the budget process. So we're in kind of the heat of that right now. And also in that process, we're looking at that Bbta deferred maintenance assessment as part of our justifications to each of the directors and what we recommend. And then, because I'm also wearing a parks hat, I will go through the parks update as well. So tomorrow, the Parent of Murdered Children Remembrance event is at 10 o'clock. That is at the cemetery at 500 Hilda Street. And that has been ongoing. I can't remember how many years, but we've had that event, and they have the big memorial in our cemetery. So if you haven't been to that event, it's significant and moving. They do a great job of it. We have contracted with Oregon Patrol. They are going through our parks in the evening. They do a rotation of our parks, and they're making a presence. They're making interactions nightly. So we have park cars, houseless folks that are using our restrooms as a safe haven for the evening. So they are contacting people to let them know that the park's closed at 10 p.m. They need to move along. And then also asking those folks that are in our restrooms to depart. So far, that has been pretty well received, where we haven't had violent actions or interactions out there. And we're seeing a little bit of, I would say, less-ish vandalism. They can't catch everything at all times because it's just happening at different times. But the presence is being known, and I think word's kind of out that they're rotating through the parks. Our seasonals are departing. So we had one
leave last Friday, and we have one leaving this next Wednesday. And so then we'll be out of seasonals. We have 2 seasonals coming on, one in October and one in December that we've already gone through the interview process with. And then the office has a new office specialist. Her name is Tracy Nimrod, and she has been fabulous working in the customer service industry previous to coming to Parks. And then she has just continued to really be an asset for the Parks office. And so we welcome Tracy. We also have, Kendall created a new position, a Park Maintenance Specialist 3 position. We are getting a returning veteran Parks Maintenance Specialist. He went over to the Streets Department, and now he is returning back to the Parks Department. So he started on Monday this week. So that gives us a little extra help, which has been great. On top of everything else we're doing, we are doing a SmartRec conversion. SmartRec is our software system. So we are converting right now the RV park into that SmartRec system for reservations. Along with the RV park SmartRec conversion, we also increased our RV park fees per the cost recovery program. That was in effect earlier this month as well. And lastly, Tyrone S. Woods Memorial Park, the dog park drainage is installed. We finished the fine grading on Monday, and they hydro-seeded Monday as well. So as of Tuesday, we have 3 times watering going on in the dog park area. And we put new notices up because all the other ones have been torn down that we're trying to grow grass, and please stay off the grass. We have the cameras out there, so people are lifting their dogs over the fence, even though it's locked, and letting them play in our dirt. And we're hoping to grow grass. So we've asked and hopefully are discouraging some of that activity. The sooner we get the grass to knit, the sooner we can get the 3 mows on, and then we can get people back out in the dog park. So if we can, we'll try and get that open as soon as possible. And then lastly, the warranty trees replanting, we're trying to schedule that with the contractor. So yes, there are dead trees that are in the brand new park, but those are trees that died during the warranty period. And so we have had those reordered, and we're just waiting to get them planted. So that'll be occurring here in the next couple months. That's it.
Thank you, Denise. Kathy?
Hello again. Well, thanks everybody again for being here tonight. It's always great to see everybody and get to update you on all things Senior Center. So fall is typically the busy time for the Pioneer Center. And so today we had a COVID vaccine clinic that went very well. The county was really pleased with the space, and it worked out perfectly with our ability to provide the shots and then have people wait the designated time to make sure they were okay. So we were really pleased. And if the county would like to reach out and use the space again, we plan to offer that to them. This is the time of year where we send out our annual appeal letter, which we'll be doing very soon. That goes to our community, helping support the programs that the Pioneer Center runs. So Barbara's been helping work on that. We've been also looking at trying to catch up with our SmartRec program and figure out how that's going to work here in our center. And again, Barbara has been instrumental in figuring out that program, how it's going to work for our registration process with seniors who are a little less tech savvy. So she's been great in helping staff and the customers get used to a new system. It's working well for our class registration and memberships, and we're still working on some issues with the rental component of that. So we're so grateful that she's here. It's been incredible. We have a C's Candy fundraiser as part of our holiday events Our traditional Christmas wreath fundraiser is coming up. We have a giving tree. We're preparing for our Thanksgiving food boxes, low-income energy assistance program, Christmas food boxes, and getting that wrapped up on the number of food boxes we'll have available to low-income seniors. Just lots and lots of those holiday activities and planning our annual Christmas event. It's usually a large event where we serve a meal. We have gifts and poinsettias, and for many of our seniors in our community, it's the only Christmas event that they'll be able to attend. So it's really important to them, and we'd like to have that happen this year. So we're planning on that. We've got an estate planning seminar. Medicare is kicking in. It's open enrollment, so we're gearing up for those presentations. We've got some other presentations about long-term care. And of course, we're working with AARP because just around the corner, as soon as Christmas ends, it's tax season. So we serve hundreds of clients in the community who need some assistance with their tax preparation. So this is a really busy time of year for us. We're so fortunate to have Barbara with us because she's really fast and knowledgeable, which has been great because she's had to hit the ground running. And then, unfortunately, we are losing a really key member of our staff. Jamie Davey is leaving. Tomorrow's her last day, and we'll miss her terribly. She's been an important part of our staff for 10 years, so we're wishing her very well. And we are transitioning here in the senior center. We're moving Shirley up from Meals on Wheels to help us with some of our client services. So we are, we're busy. So that's it.
Thank you, Kathy and Melissa.
Well, we made it through the summer. We got through about 12 weeks of various swim lesson programs and camps and summer concerts and movies, and we're lucky enough to not have to cancel any programs, and we're back up to full programming. Not many pools can say that, and it really goes back to the staff that we have and all of the work that the lifeguards and all of our camp counselors have put in to get through those. A lot of our staff that were working at the summer concerts this year, and this has been pretty historical, is that a lot of the staff there are our aquatic staff and our lifeguards and swim lesson instructors to help those going. And it was really great to see everyone out there. Troy, I know you wanted to hear about how our numbers were this summer compared to 2019, and we did have less people this season than we did back in 2019, but also we had a lot of 100-degree days on Thursdays throughout the summer, which typically brings in a lot less people compared to days that are in the high 80s, low 90s. So that's to be expected. As far as October or September, October and fall programming, again, we're kind of back up to our normal operations at the pool. We are starting back up our glow swims and our swamp swim event, which is our Halloween event. And we added a second night for swamp swim this year that's going to be specific for teenagers to attend. So a couple different options for that. And then the Ermitinger House has launched their Adopt an Artifact program, which is where you can go and adopt an artifact in the house, and you get your name by it, as well as a artifact fact sheet, and it helps contribute to the operations of the Ermitinger House. And we're working on developing a program for field trips for the Ermitinger House and partnering with the Stephen Crawford House, which is right next door, to have a better, more opportunities, since it is such a small house for classrooms to visit, to make it more feasible to get more field trips in at those sites. And I think, let's see if I missed anything off of my list. Oh, we did have a lifeguard certification class because even though we are doing pretty well with staff, we could always use more lifeguards. And we, unfortunately we didn't get anyone that passed the certifications because they are pretty difficult skills for people to get through, but we are offering 2 more classes, one in November and one in December. And everyone that was in the class this weekend are going to be working on the skills to be able to pass the next one. So we're pretty hopeful for that. And that's the end of my update.
Tim, you have a question?
Yes. Hey, Melissa, it was nice meeting you and RJ in person at the pickleball courts. Thanks for coming. And the club really looks forward to working with you. My question was, is RJ your Barbara, as Barbara's work with Kathy?
Yeah, essentially. So yeah, on the aquatic and recreation side, you've got your aquatic and rec manager, and then RJ is our recreation coordinator. So he helps out with, aquatic and recreation programs. And then at the senior center, you've got, Kathy, who's the manager of that site and the senior programs. And then Barbara is her recreation coordinator. So
the recreation coordinator, I mean, that is a pretty wide, inclusive description for a job. I mean, what kind of things does a recreation coordinator do? I mean, are you going to be setting up after school programs? Are you going to do adult things? Are you going to do what?
Yes.
Yeah, it's all of it. I mean, recreation is a broad term, and anyone who works in recreation, to Denise's point earlier, she's wearing a lot of different hats in a lot of different areas, and that's true with all positions within Parks and Recreation. RJ's position is the position that I was in before I ended up in the management roles. So as far as what he's working on, he's taking over a lot of what I used to do. We do plan to try to add in some additional programs, but right now we're mainly focusing on the programs that we had prior to the pandemic and getting those back up and running. And that involves, at least on my purview, the operations of the swimming pool and the swim teams that are there. We're entering into swim team contract season as well. We've got an indoor playground in our community room and camp suite in the community room, and then the Ermitinger house, and then, other various programs.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Melissa. And that concludes our staff reports, Troy. That's what it's called.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. So member reports, a reminder, this is an opportunity for us to give a report of something we've observed or participated in the community that should be presented at this meeting. If you have future agenda items, that's next on the agenda. We can bring those up. Not a time for discussion, just for a report. Steve, do you have anything for us? You're muted.
Thank you. Just one confirmation of what Melissa said. I was at most of the concerts in the park, and I do think certainly participation was pretty severely and hampered by a few days where the temperatures were just almost unbearable. I know I was there participating with the Optimists on some activities, and it darn near cooked us right out of there. So I think probably not a good comparison from one year to the next of what the participation was, because the weather just in a couple days was really difficult.
Perfect. Thank you. Tim, do you have a report for us?
No, nothing further than my nice meeting with Melissa and RJ at the pickleball courts, and looking forward to working with the city in a public-private cooperation. So it looks like things are on our way.
Ken, do you have a report for us?
No, I don't.
Joey?
None tonight.
Andy?
I don't, but I'll echo Steve's. You guys know how to put on a great concert. That was a lot of fun. Good job, well done.
Perfect. That's great.
And Troy, I think I saw you to my right at one point, and then you were gone.
Well, there was one where I had to jump on. We did our meeting from there.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, I was there. I think I went to 2 or 3. I can't remember, but to a few of them.
Yeah,
it was great. It was a great day. It was all fun. We just got to find out how to not get, we were lacking in attendance, but Johnny Limbo and the Lug Nuts, they're always full, and you got to get there early because there's never a place to sit. Those guys are super popular. So I don't know, maybe we should do something different. Have them twice. Maybe people get tired of seeing them. We'll just split the crowd up. I don't know. Maybe I'll have 2 sold out crowds too. I don't know. But anyway, it was a great show.
September when it's not so hot.
Yeah, maybe that's it, huh? So anyway, great job. Future agenda items. Anybody have any future agenda items? Raise your hand if you would. Steve, please.
Just a couple. The one that I think I alluded to earlier about deciding when we'll have our December meeting. I guess that'd probably be a discussion for the next meeting, but it's something we want to see if we can get as much advance notice as possible, because December's a challenging month sometimes for some of us anyway. And the other item, and Justin, this is not specifically associated with Sportscraft and the negotiations and all that stuff I always talk about, but there's obviously a lot of activity with the highway department down there, the boat ramps covered up and all those kinds of things. It would be helpful for me and folks that I visit with to understand a little bit more about the timing of how that's all going to work, because I think that boat ramp's going to be messed up for some time. And by the time we get to about next February, that's going to start to become an issue. And so we have to discuss that kind of detail. That has nothing to do with the negotiations or anything else. It has to do with a little bit clearer understanding what the operations are going to be around that location and down along the river.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, we can get both those on there just to give everybody a little bit of a heads up. And Justin, you may have been briefed on this. I don't know. But because of Thanksgiving and Christmas, we typically take our November, December meetings and do it at the beginning of December. Typically, and I emphasize typically because we can decide what we need to do. That's usually the first or second Thursday of December to kind of split it, in the middle without being too involved with the holidays. So if we can get that on the agenda next month, then we can have a discussion about what date we want to pick for December. So if all of us could be thinking about that and come prepared to October's meeting for some December dates, that would be helpful. Anyone else have any future agenda items they'd like to request? Okay, perfect. And remember, this is not your only chance. This is just one opportunity. If you have any other future agenda items, send an email to Kendall, Justin, and myself, and we'll get those on there as well. So this is not your only chance to do that. So with that, our next meeting is scheduled for October 27th. I'm just checking the date, make sure that's what I have as well. Yes, October 27th at 7 o'clock. And other than that, meeting is adjourned.
Bye, everybody.